Sawadee Namaste. And aloha to you all. Wherever you are on this planet, however you're doing, I'm glad you're surviving. We're all surviving. Um, yeah, so you guys are doing fantastic. So, Denise, water fasting, everybody, very cool. Hello, 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 New York. Yeah, when you're doing a water fast, everyone, just simply, you can't do anything else. A water fast is turning your soul and your life over to God in every aspect. Okay, you don't need to do anything else. God doesn't need any help. Get away, get away, get away. How do I get rid of this guy? There we go. Okay, you guys. So I just want you to all remember something about machines. Okay, everybody listening carefully, because I see we got a lot of people listening. I hope you're all listening, and so by now everybody knows that I am probably I guess one of the most insane people you've ever met, right? Complete. Just realize that I'm insane, and I'm happily insane. I don't want to be anything near like I don't want to be like anybody else that's out there in this world today. Okay, so please, I'm like outside of it all. Okay, so I'm insane. I want to tell you something. You all remember the story of Cain and Abel. I'm going to tell you how this relates to today getting online. How does Cain and Abel relate to getting online today? Remember what Cain did? Anybody remember what Cain did? He was a farmer. What was the first thing that Cain did? What did Cain do? He built a machine. The machine was called a till. You know what a till told God? God, a Cain, when Cain built a till, he was telling God that God didn't do it right. Things weren't right. What's going on here? How can you expect me to be a farmer if I don't till the land? And I don't know if you've ever read the controversy about tilling land and how bad it is. Instead of rotating crops and instead of doing things the way indigenous peoples do. Anyway, so the first he was Cain, and he was killed. He was killed, and therein began the beginning of what we call humanity. Okay. I mean, so the other guy was, Abel, not too cool either. I mean, killing his brother and all that. I mean, but that's how it all started. But building a machine, to build a machine, to build a thing, to build something is idolatry. To not be satisfied with this. You look at this earth. Take a look at the earth. Do you realize it? You've looked around, right? You've seen the sunsets that I've seen. You've seen the sunrises. You've seen the wind blowing. You've seen new baby chicks being born. You've seen life just coming out of everything. You've seen that beauty. Have you seen that? Truly, is the only time we should use the word awesome is when we're talking about the work of God, not the work of humans. Nothing we do is awesome. The closest we come to awesome is music and art. Period. That's it. And I know I disagree with 1,000 million people, and I guess I'm just okay with that. So, art and music, closest thing we do. It was Johann Sebastian Bach who said that music is the bridge between earth and heaven. Anyway, that's the story of Cain and Abel. Anyway, it's hard to get you guys off your track. You're really, and the other thing I hope you understand today is this: everybody here is tragically under the spell of the Rockefellers. This is an extremely powerful, 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 powerful spell. It's a spell in every sense of the word. In the beginning was the Word was with God, the Word was God. The Word, words are powerful. Words are the scaffolding of our minds. Words are the context in which thinking arises. Okay, words and pictures. And you have to be very careful about what words enter your mind, what words you attend to. When thinking happens, remember, you don't do thinking. Thinking happens. When thinking happens, don't grab all these words. Don't grab onto them. Develop a tolerance for the thoughts going by. Develop a tolerance for the clouds going by. Just view the passing clouds. But don't grab onto these words. Don't grab onto any Rockefeller words. And if you're a descendant of Rockefeller, my condolences. I have nothing to say about that. Their words are evil, and I'm gonna finish this book, and you'll see. I'll try to put it all out there. I mean, you're right. Yeah. You're right. You're right. Cain, the machine maker, made killed Abel. Yes. Yeah. That's what I meant. I don't know what I said. I must have said that wrong, but thank you for correcting that. Mass formation psychosis. Yes. Yeah, so we're all over the place now. I guess we got to get on. Rumble so I can talk freely. But anyway, that's just. So anyway, please listen to this. Very, very, very important stuff. Okay, I know everyone came with a specific agenda today to hear about a specific cancer that they have and the specific progress they've made. But please understand something. All of that is a lie. All of that is the rabbit hole that doesn't exist. Okay? All of that is the matrix. We're talking about stuff that they made up. Okay? Now, hopefully I can explain this a little bit, but I want you to get out of this. You got to get out of this spell. You got to get out of this spell. These words they use, these diagnoses, these prognosticating. Do you realize what that word means? To prognosticate? To prognosticate? To tell the future? This is a prognosis. You're going to tell the future. Now, if you're not using something as profound and something as real as the stars in the heavens, as the planets, to help you in somehow predicting the future, that, by the way, doesn't exist, and you're using some other bizarre, weird, man-made way of predicting the future, then it's all madness. It's not going to happen. Okay, the universe happens to be on a course that was set in motion. Who knows when? Was it ever begun? Who knows? Don't tell me anybody has that answer. Don't tell me science has that answer. Science has no answers about anything. Okay? Someday I would like someone to explain to me one good thing that science did. Now, I'm not saying putting a leg back together. Some mechanical stuff that we've learned in surgery is not really good and not really helpful. But that's about it. That's about it. I hope no one really thinks that we've improved food. Have we improved food with science? Have we improved life? Is our life better now with science? Has science made life better? Huh? You guys remember before it was so scientific? Do you remember that? I do. I remember life was kind of easy. It was kind of fun. It was free. It felt fantastic. You could walk around. Yes, I know Cain killed Abel. Yeah, thank you, Deborah. Yeah, built a machine and killed Abel. In defiance, okay? What was the first commandment? Thou shalt have no other God but me. We do. You know what our God is? You want to know what our God is? Number one God of everybody watching this, including me, all of us. What's our number one God? It's called the mirror. It's called vanity. And number two is all the things that can support vanity, which result in greed. And until you've had a taste, a brush with mortality, your own mortality, do you begin to realize that none of that matters? Yeah, sorry for, talking about this, but I mean, it's really serious stuff. So anyway, I mean, if you go back and you realize that this was all tried about 100 years ago in 1918 with the supposed pandemic and flu and all that stuff, and they gave shots out, and they were doing the same thing. It didn't work then. They're doing it this time. It's working. And you got because in those days people still had their courage. That generation, the generation of Americans, the generation of Europeans, the generation of Australians 100 years ago, you couldn't just walk in and do what you're doing to us today. Couldn't do it. We were strong. We had courage. We'd stand up and say, hell no. Hell no. Now we're too busy eating our nuggets and playing video games. We're going to do it. We're not fighting. We're not fighting. We're not going to fighting. We're protesting. We're sharing information. We're saying, isn't that terrible? Isn't that terrible? Isn't that terrible? Meanwhile, the agenda marches on, and they know that. We're not sharing information. What are you going to do? You're going to take it to court. You're going to win in court. Who owns the judges? Who owns the legislatures? Who owns the administration? Who owns the voting machines? Who owns it all? It does. Anyway, whatever. Let's not talk about that. Let's talk about Reknak. That's what we're here for. And I apologize. I just get very, very blown away by the condition of the world, and our condition philosophically, where we've come to, is mind-boggling to me. Because I just am not there, so I can't understand it. So I'm glad you're all here. So let's, positive energy. Yeah. I know that, listen, I live in a wonderful place. I'm going to walk outside later and it's going to be beautiful. But I'm just talking about our human condition right now. So anyway, we got a lot of questions, and let's get to them because you spent a lot of time asking me these questions. So let's answer them. Let's answer them. How do I find them again? I gotta go here, right? Come on. Not there. Here we go. Okay. Questions. Come on. Okay, so here we go. We're going to answer questions. I hope everyone is with us. And there we go. Come on. Okay. So all right. So this is I'm going to take a few questions from the website first, then we'll go, because normally we start with Instagram, but let's start with the website first. So there was a couple questions from a guy named Mike, and it does Mistletoe actually work to help heal from cancer? Or is it better to spend the money if you have limited funds on high dose vitamin C or hyperbaric oxygen? All right, Mike, it's a good question. It's a very good question, and mistletoe absolutely does work, and I'll share with you some reasons why. I mean, just something to validate that, so you just don't think I said it, but I want you to know that that the information comes elsewhere. But but other than the fact that mistletoe works, the question is, what should you spend if you have limited amount of money on limited money? If you have limited money, then the thing to spend your life on most importantly is your lifestyle, what you're eating, your ability to get a good sleep, wearing an eye mask, getting to bed early, doing movements all day long. Develop these habits of life. These will change your chemistry so that your body stops making cancer. I'm telling you, they will. They will. When I look at the people over the years who are still here, that I've seen that they've been working with me for 20 years, 25 years. These are people who live the lifestyle. That's it. More than anything, it doesn't matter. Some may have gone off and done this and done this and done this and done this, but most of all, that's what they've done. Okay, and they've gone to bed early. They're doing all the things we talk about, and most of all, they're learning to keep their mind empty. They're learning to meditate. Okay, they're learning to turn the mind off, and it's called psychoneural immunology. Remember that, psychoneural immunology, the effect of the mind on the brain. Psycho-neuro immunology is profound. It is so profound that you cannot overcome that. And I'll give you a really easy example. We have a lab here that we can use where we can take out your blood, spin out the natural killer cells, put them in the laboratory, get them activated with interleukin 2. Now they're activated. They're producing gamma interferon by large amounts, which tells us that they're extremely activated. Then we can put them into a specific growth medium. We can expand them out to 10 billion, and we can give that injection into your arm every week, once a week, 10 billion of your own activated natural killer cells. And within an hour, 2 hours, if you're depressed, if you're angry, if you're sad, if you're afraid, if you're envious, if you're regretful, they will become inactivated. Okay, that's the power of this. So don't think there's anything out there that's more important than what's in here. Please keep that in mind. And I want to tell you something, the intensity of your questions, the intensity of what's behind it. I can feel when I read these, I can feel the desperation and the angst and all that stuff. That is suppressing you. I agree. Let's answer these questions. These are really important questions. Is mistletoe worth doing? I think it is, and I'll show you why. Is ozone worth doing? Yeah, I think it is, and I'll tell you why. But the question is, if you don't take care of this, none of that matters. If you there's it's not even relative importance. That has to be. You have got to take care of this. And then almost anything will work. Actually, not really. The radiation, I take that back. But all of this kind of the stuff we're going to do is work. But anyway, Mike, let me answer your question. And there was, but I want to remind everybody of how all the disinformation out there, because I can understand if you're not used to reading these kinds of articles and you're not used to being critically evaluating them, then you might you're going to believe what they say. So you've got to really look into these studies and see what they're saying. So I mean, here, like, look at this one here. It just blows my mind. This was 2000. No, this was it. Where is it? Here. Yeah. All right. So this is the British Medical Journal, 2006, right? And here's the name of their treatment, their article. It's called "Mistletoe as a Treatment for Cancer," right? And they have all this professor of complementary medicine. Oh, well, that's Edzard Ernst. Okay. You want to know how he starts the article? This is how he starts it, right? So it's just to let you know that there's no prejudice at all involved in what he did in this article. He starts it, his first words are, "It has no proven benefit and can cause harm." That's how he starts. Okay. And then he goes on, "Most doctors in the United Kingdom will be surprised to learn." Blah, 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 blah. Okay. So then what he does is he starts to malign Rudolf Steiner. You all know who Rudolf Steiner is? Rudolf Steiner, probably one of the greatest geniuses that the world has ever known. Biodynamic farming, biodynamic architecture, Waldorf schools, philosopher. He's the guy that, he was telling us 100 years ago that there was no hidden enemy called a virus that's attacking us, but rather the electromagnetic currents that we were being, frequencies that we were being exposed to, etc. Okay, so anyway, this guy is a pretty, and believe me, he belonged to a group of people. There was a group of them that included some of the greatest minds of those days. You all may not be familiar with them, but they include, there's lots of them. I have a really good friend here in Phuket, who one of them was his teacher, so he was a very, very fortunate guy. But there was a group of these people. They included, there was amazing people at the turn of not the last century, the century before. Amazing. Helena Petrovna Blavatsky. You may have heard of her. You may have heard of Alice Bailey. You may have heard of Max Heindel. You may have heard of Ledbetter. These guys were. There's none alive. There's no one like these guys today. There's no one. There's no one in any of the greatest universities that's anywhere near where these people were at. These people they got it. But anyway, so this article, he maligns Rudolf Steiner and anthroposophical medicine, right? Which was basically, Rudolf Steiner was saying that, medicine is not just a biological thing. It's not just a physical thing. It has to do with the person's mind and their spirit, and it has to do with their environment and the relationships with it. And he brought it all together. He was calling it anthroposophical medicine, which anthropos is the word for humans, and sophistry is the word for wisdom, right? These are all Greek words, and it was pretty good. So anyway, the only thing that I don't agree with them and most of the people that talk about Rudolf Steiner is that he used ancient alchemical methods for developing his medications. No one uses ancient. I happen to know what ancient alchemistry is. Alchemy is. It's not at all what anybody thinks. Okay, so if you can look it up all you want, you're going to find it's turning lead into gold, and has nothing to do with that. Nothing. Okay, but anyway. So he's the one that started using mistletoe, and so he doesn't go on this guy that's doing this, puts this study in the British Medical Journal, is not talking about anything about the particular substance he's talking about, which is the mistletoe, which is a plant that is a parasite to other plants. He's talking about the guy that developed the use of it and maligning him, because if he's a freak, then of course whatever he does was freaky, right? Anyway, so but he's saying that it's that these drugs are based on ancient alchemical and homeopathic notions, far removed from the concepts of pharmacology. You got it. Yeah. He's right about that. Not only far removed, completely removed. Why? Because pharmacology is evil. Pharmacology is based on nothing real. It's based on how can we poison. Do you know that every pharmaceutical agent, also called a drug, has what's called an ED50? What is an ED50? LD50? What is an LD50? It's the lethal dose at which 50% of the people who take it die. Okay. Well, if I don't want anything that's got an LD50. All right. Well, that's the. So yeah, it's far removed from the concepts of pharmacology. Yeah, you got it, Doctor Ernst. You got it. Many of the drugs are produced in unusual ways. Some mistletoe preparations are fermented, while other anthroposophic drugs are highly diluted according to homeopathic principles. He's saying this as if that were a negative. It's just showing his complete ignorance and the fact that you should just take his journal and put it into the fireplace and set it on fire. Yeah. Anyway, so now, but I want to say here, he goes on to say, because I looked up his reference because I want to see, is it okay? Is he telling the truth? And here's what he says. A wide range of serious adverse reactions have been noted, such as local reactions at the site of injection. Okay. Anaphylaxis, you know what that means, where you have an extreme allergic reaction and you die. Dyspnea means you run out of breath. Hemorrhagic colitis means you start bleeding out of your rectum. Paresthesia means that your nerves are starting to fail you and you're numb or whatever. Your sarcoidosis, which is another whole thing where you develop these ulcerations and vertigo. And then he refers to an article. So I looked up the article, and the article's in German. So I used a translating service, and I read it. It had nothing to do with what he just said. Nothing. So that's called a lie. This should be taken off the shelves. So here's what his conclusion is. Thus, mistletoe has been tested extensively as a treatment for cancer, but the most reliable randomized controlled trials fail to show benefit, and some reports show considerable potential for harm. No, not true. Not true. He didn't show us, and I can't find it. This is a lie. It's a lie. Okay? It's a lie. Which is probably why you're asking me the question, because you're confused, because you've probably run into some of these lies. Okay. Now, what I've looked at is I found here's another one that came out in 2016, Intravenous Mistletoe Treatment in Integrative Cancer Care, a qualitative study exploring the procedures, concepts, and observations of expert doctors. And anyway, what did they find? It is most used to improve quality of life, increases the tolerability of chemotherapy, and exerts a possible benefit on tumor control and survival. Contains lots of agents such as lectins, viscotoxins, oligo and polysaccharides, and triterpene acids. Okay, that's what it has. Those are the biochemicals that are involved. That's why it's not just some abstract idea of a plant helping, but it's actually the chemicals in plants. And in fact, the chemicals that are in plants are the chemicals we use. I mean, even some of the chemotherapeutic drugs that are used today, such as the platins and stuff like that, come originally from what they did was these scientific companies go down to the rainforest, and they talk to the indigenous healers, the shamans and people like that, and they find out what they're using, that they've been using for 5,000, 10,000 years, that actually helps people. They find out what that is, and then they take a piece of it into their laboratory and try to extract the component in that plant that is going to do something. Well, God, nature, didn't produce single isolated components. what is produced and what exists everywhere, what nature is full of, is a synergy, a synergistic amalgamation of everything. You know, what are you going to say? Are you going to, I mean, this is what, are you going to say, well, the sun is more important than the moon? Oh, yeah? Then why do we have a sun and a moon? Why is there a day and a night? If you're saying that daytime is more important than nighttime, then clearly that we don't need a nighttime. No, that's not the way it is, though. Turns out we have a night and a day. So I guess they're both necessary. Okay. Well, let's kind of look at it. Anyway, so here's what this study found. They found that these chemicals I just talked about that are found in the plant are cytotoxic. They have strong apoptosis-inducing effects, which means they cause the cancer cells to the chronically fermenting cells to commit suicide. These chemicals also stimulate the immune system. They possess DNA stabilizing properties in the mononuclear cells and enhance endorphins, which means we produce endogenous chemicals that reduce pain, and they inhibit the tumor growth. That's what they do. Okay, so and then they even had they even had a recent randomized controlled trial and found highly statistically significant benefit of survival for patients with advanced pancreatic cancer. All right. And I mean, so they're talking about the mean survival they're looking at overall survival, right? And this is one of the complaints this guy had was, oh, they're looking at overall survival. Well, do you know what when you look up, if you look up any drug or any therapy or any whatever they're calling immune therapies, which are not immune therapies, whatever they're doing, we're calling. Well, you know what they use as their endpoints, people? You know what they use? Look at, I don't believe ever. They'll never believe me, okay? Because I'm a freak, right? I'm a freak, so don't believe me. Always look up what I say. Always. Right. When you look up, you're going to find out that what they use as control, this is their endpoint, progression-free survival, 3 months. Now that becomes considered statistically significant, right? Anything is statistically significant. And you know what it means? Well, it means about as much, it has as much value to you as something that was, I don't know, excreted from your body in the form of gas. That's how much value it has when they say things like that. Anyway, progression-free survival is useless. It means, okay, so for 3 months, it didn't grow. It didn't shrink. And then it grew and the person died. What? So that's an endpoint in a study, and that's what we're going to use to get the Fraud and Death Association to approve it? Yeah, well, that's what they do. And that gets approved. So here, these guys are using the same thing. The overall survival means they were alive. And yeah, it was 4.8 months versus 2.7. Well, that's like almost twice the amount of time just from using. And the only difference between these people was that they used some mistletoe. Now, what they don't do, none of these things do. None of these studies do. Not even these studies. They don't look at what people are eating. They don't look at if people are sitting in hospitals. If you're sitting in a hospital surrounded by machines, surrounded by noise, having people waking you up all the time, telling you that you're sick, telling you you're going to die, telling you all this stuff. If you're in that environment, of course. Of course. But if you were at home with loving people and eating and drinking food that the earth produced, and smelling the sweetness of the air blowing from outside, and looking at flowers, and looking at the warm smile of a loving mother or a loving spouse or loving child or friend. If you're doing that, what about that? And mistletoe. So yeah, okay, so but even with just the mistletoe, we were having 4.8 versus 2.7. And I think that's so. So the point is this: scientifically, according to the way they do things, yes, it is worth doing. Is it more beneficial to do that than intravenous vitamin C and or intravenous ozone? Um, that's maybe a personal choice. I personally would choose vitamin C over anything. Dr. Schallenberger, Dr. Rowan, who I have the utmost respect for, would choose ozone over vitamin C. But I think vitamin C. When I look at vitamin C, and I've studied it quite a lot. God, it does everything. It does everything. But you can't just get the IVs. You've got to be sipping 7 to 7, like we talk about. We talk about that, right, all the time. Sipping 7 to 7 so that we can meet our physiological requirements. Why? Because all of us human beings lack an enzyme called L-gallunolactone oxidase. And so we don't have the enzyme necessary in the final step that turns glucose into ascorbates, which are vitamin C. And therefore, we're walking around with and we don't eat the way humans were designed to eat. So we're not going to be getting enough of it in our diets to satisfy our physiological requirements. Therefore, we need to eat it every day. Sip 7 to 7. Let me see. Yeah, so here's what they were finding too. I just want to bring this up for the mistletoe. Being under the intravenous, and it was intravenous. Most of it was intravenous rather than the sub-Q. Patients regularly become more powerful. These are quotes. More powerful, feel lighter. When the patients struggle with increasing weakness in advanced stages, they feel more energetic, dynamic, stronger, and invigorated with mistletoe infusions, and can stay in good conditions for a long time despite their progressive condition. Patients experience improved inner strength, blah, 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 blah. These effects were described as intense and extensive. It is a wonderful therapy. I would do it myself and also give exactly that to my mother. This is written by a gastroenterologist. After 5 days, I feel much more powerful. I can get up again. So all of these things are important. Why are they important? Because in the allopathic world, the Rockefeller world, has declared war on tumors, and they go to war against the tumors. And unfortunately, tragically, the battle of that war is on our bodies. And so all the collateral damage happens to be our well-being and our health. But that's what they do. They go to war against it. And they don't really care that you don't enjoy eating anymore, that you don't have the energy to get up, that you have to rely on other people to help you go to the toilet, that you can't walk, that you're not laughing, that you don't sleep well. All of those things that I just mentioned are why we're alive. Those are what make life worth living. Being able to sleep, get a good night's sleep, feeling good in the morning, laughing, enjoying camaraderie with friends and loved ones, moving around, going outside, all those things. That's what life is. Life is not just being hooked up to machines and having some machine breathe for you. And yeah, oh yeah, we kept the body alive for the 12 years. And well, that's not what our goals are. None of us. But they would have considered it a success. Anyway, this is what I love about this stuff here. And then in that same study, these improvements, and now this, by the way, this wasn't a study. It was a meta-analysis looking at multiple different studies. And it's reported for 50 to 80% of the patients and 20 to 30% of the children. Anyway, so that was one question. I just want to talk to you about. I personally would do a vitamin. If I had only one treatment to do and I didn't have a lot of money, I would do intravenous vitamin C. And I would find a nurse friend and get my own vitamin C. And I'd get the best. There's only one vitamin C I would ever use intravenously, and it's called Pure C, P-U-R-C. And it's pure sodium ascorbate, and it's reconstituted at the time of use, and it's really good. All right, so that's what I would do. Now, next question. By Elisa. Can you help someone with MGUS? And of course, I had to look that up because remember, I am not a acronym type guy. If there is such a type of guy. But anyway, the reason I don't like acronyms is because really, you might think you know a particular acronym, but it's only true in the context of that particular subject matter. If you're talking about a different subject matter, that same acronym is used for something else. And that's within the same field. So we're still talking about the field of medicine. I mean, it depends on what we're talking about. So what I always prefer to acronyms is people speaking to each other, just saying, take time, take that extra few seconds and say the whole word out. Okay, so we'll call it monoclonal gammopathy of undetermined significance. And that's very important. Instead of calling it MGUS, monoclonal gammopathy. Okay, so we can figure out what that is. Of undetermined significance. Well, that there tells us a lot. Anyway, so it's a condition where the body's producing a lot of extra of a particular kind of protein. This happens with one of the ones that well known is a condition that we know of called multiple myeloma. Multiple myeloma, it produces a spike in a particular protein. But anyway, so happens most often in men, elderly, around 70, but it can happen to women and younger. But and it can go on to, it's not that it can go on, it's that what can also result later on are different types of leukemias and things like that. But guess what? Not having this can also result in leukemias. I just want you to try to get out of their spell. They're going to always tell us that they, whatever, they're drawing associations, or it's if the newspaper tells you it's Tuesday, check your almanac. Don't believe a word they say. A word. I don't care what they say. They do not speak the truth. And I'm going to tell you something about the news. If there's something being covered on the news and it's got a lot of play, then probably something else is going on and it's a distraction. And if it's being talked about, it's probably not true. And I don't know if you think I'm crazy, but I'm not. I turn out not to be crazy. It turns out that way. I'd be just as happy if I were crazy. It doesn't matter to me. But the point is, I'm not crazy. The point is that what I'm saying is true. The point is that they don't tell the truth on TV, on radio, or anything. And yeah, they just don't. And if they're talking about it, it's not true. The stuff that's true is the stuff they don't talk about. And you all know that, I hope, by now. Anyway, so I you know, and I love this. I gotta share some stuff with you guys. Okay, first of all, guess what? The cause of the MGUS, MGUS. Guess what the cause is? Okay, these are the experts. The cause is the precise cause of MGUS isn't known. However, genetic changes and environmental triggers appear to play a role. Oh my God. Is that not profound? Are these guys not profound? I mean, is there another word for how profound they are? Genetic changes and environmental triggers appear to play a role. They just covered their okole, as we would say in Hawaii. CYO, cover your okole. Now, risk factors are age. Increasing age is a risk factor for dying, I think. One of them, right? Is that true? No. 3-year-olds die. Infants die. Embryos die. But that's the thing. So what I would say to you is, in your question, and that was a sincere question, Elisa, and I didn't mean to belittle your question at all. It's a real question. But what would I do, or what do I recommend for anybody who has this? First of all, you don't have a condition called MGUS. There's no thing. They made it up. They made it up. It's not a thing that exists in you. Where is it? Did they tell you where it is? Did they say it's located in your elbow and sometimes it moves to the wrist? And occasionally we find it over near the spleen, but it usually gets back to the elbow. Did they explain that to you? No. Why? Because they don't know. Because there's no such thing. You don't have a thing going on. Okay? You've got some degree of ill health, meaning you have strayed away from optimal functioning, like we all have, because we live in artificial environments. Okay, living in artificial environments, which we all do, not all of us, results in our body needing to go through different adaptations to survive, and those adaptations are what they call diseases. What we know are just adaptations. So what I'm saying is, what you need to do is what I need to do, what we all need to do, and that is we need to live our lives. We need to take our shoes off, go back out and go outside and reconnect with this beautiful, wonderful planet, this gift. The two gifts we got, this earth suit and the earth. Pretty fantastic. Pretty fantastic. And I want you to look around, and I want you to look around at how we have basically given the finger to God. Because we said, hey, I get it. You gave this really nice planet, and it's really cool for the birds, and the bears, but what about us? Where's all the houses? Where's all the cars? Where's the Teslas? Where's the iPhones? Right? Where's that new pair of Nikes I want to wear so I can look cool when I walk down the street? And that new blouse and that new whatever. Oh, I'm answering for God to me. Oh, you mean all the things necessary for the vanity? Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Okay, what's not necessary? And in fact, it's going to lead to your demise. Anyway, the point is, take our shoes off, go back outside, And we get connected to the earth with our feet and our mouths. And we get connected to the earth with our mouths by eating the food that the earth produces. And the earth does not produce French fry. Now, I've been around. I've been to many countries. Many countries. Never found a French fry tree. I looked. They can't find it. Anyway, reconnect with the earth. Reconnect with the earth. Spend time outside. And if you're living in a cold place, then that's going to be difficult. Get yourself a grounding mat. Go to earthing.net and get yourself a grounding mat for now. And as soon as you can, if you've got a little bit of money, move to the place of the earth where humans arose from. This is where we arose from. It may be difficult and may be impossible. And if it's impossible, do your best. Whenever it's time to be outside, be outside. And when you can't, then get some sort of earthing mat and things like that, and try to reduce your connection to machines. Machines are idolatry. Idolatry is a form of vanity. Anyway, so Alisa, eat right, go to bed early, get some movement every day, every 90 minutes, get up and do something vigorous for 10 minutes. Jumping jacks, riding a bicycle, doing some push-ups, do whatever you can do. Get out of breath, and then go back to doing whatever you're doing. Eat food that comes from the earth. Don't eat food that comes from the kitchen. Remember, if God made it, it's natural. If man or woman made it, it's artificial. What can I say? Can I say the opposite is the true? No. Can I say that what I just said is not true? No. Anyway. And you know what? People who believe they have this MGUS, 1% of them go on to having one of these other conditions. But it's not that they go on. What percentage of the other people that don't have this condition go on to having those conditions? Much more. You see, this is just a lie. It's one of the lies. It's a lie. Okay, here's a question from Lori. I went to your free lecture in Mesa. Is immunotherapy Keytruda helpful for stage 4 prostate cancer and colon cancer? Already giving all these other stuff, yeah. Laser treatments, juicing green carrot, all organic, lemon water daily, improving immensely, primarily from the juicing diet. Oncologist wants to keep giving it immune therapy. He's had 4, one every 3 weeks. I cannot give you specific advice because I don't know everything about the situation. However, what I can tell you is this, that what they call immune therapy is not immune therapy. They have found, they've identified, they've produced a molecule that goes after one part of the immune system. And the immune system is an extremely vast, complicated array of different cells working and communicating together to protect the organism. And the audacity and the arrogance to think that we can come in and find one spot and we're going to stop that one spot and change the whole course of the river is nothing but audacity and arrogance, and also extreme ignorance. However, that being said, Keytruda and some of the other ones actually do work in certain situations. Okay. However, they only work if the body is already doing it. So if the tumors have been infiltrated with T cells, then by giving the Keytruda, you'll release and they'll be able to do their job. That's called a hot tumor. If the cells haven't reached there yet, if for one reason if for one reason or another they're not there, then it's called the cold tumor, and that by giving that medication it won't help. So I don't know the situation. All the other treatments you're doing look good. I'm not sure what HDIVC is. High dose intravenous vitamin C. I guess so, but okay, but we can use those words. We can say high dose intravenous vitamin C. That's okay. And major autohemo, which we call ozone, an IV Weber laser, which has, for me, questionable significance. I know Weber and his family, and I know his work, and it may be okay, but I'm not sure it's been perfected enough to rely on it. And he's improving well, and it's primarily from the juicing. You're right. Juicing is magic. Juicing is cleaning the water in the aquarium. And the next best thing to do is fasting. All right. But for now, you're doing the immunotherapy. I mean, it sounds okay, but we got to make sure. Now, how do you make sure? How do you convert a cold tumor into a hot tumor? You do it with ivermectin. That's proven. Put it online. Look up ivermectin, cold tumor, hot tumor, and you'll see. So yeah, okay, let's go on. What more questions do we have? Okay, wow, these are small. If I come to Phuket, will I be able to see you? Yeah, most likely. I don't have a clinic yet, though. We're building our clinics. Actually, it's starting. The one in Bangkok is going to be built the soonest, and then the one we've got the land already for the Phuket. So I would say everything's like at the most 9 months or 10 or 12 months away, and there'll be two wonderful centers. So but yeah, if you come to Phuket, you'll be able to see me for sure. I was told Bancha is the best of the best green tea. Is this true? Melanie. Okay. Actually, that's kind of the opposite. The word sencha, the sencha is made from the leaves of the tree. And in fact, I have some family in Japan, and let me just show you what they found for us, just so we could talk about it, because you all want to know, I'm sure. Okay, very interesting. So here it is. I translated. The sprout, this is in Japanese for the Japanese to read. So they're, Shinmei no bubun wa sencha ni nari kuki no. I used to be able to speak. I don't anymore. Anyway, the sprout becomes sencha. The stem part becomes kukicha. The powder part becomes powder tea. And the hard leaf part becomes sencha. Bancha. Okay, so here, translation. Bancha is a type of green tea that is drunk in Japan, refers to non-standard, low-grade tea in market distribution products. Bancha is sometimes used as a general term for everyday tea. locally produced tea and homemade tea. The production method is almost the same as that of Sencha, but tea leaves harvested after summer. Tea leaves when the branches are shaped for the next cultivation, and large leaves. Okay, so in other words, it's at the end of the season. Sencha is one type of tea. It is also one of the most popular teas in Japan. In a narrow sense, Sencha is green tea that is cultivated without blocking sunlight, using new shoots and drying the tea leaves while kneading them in several stages. In a broad sense, Sencha refers to senjicha, which in tea leaves are soaked in hot water to extract the components of matcha, which is powdered up by drying the tea. Okay, so I would say Sencha is the best. That's the one I love. And that's the most fragrant. It smells, when you open the thing and you smell it, it's really fantastic. It smells really good. But no, the answer is no to whoever told you that. Oh, had it backwards. Yeah, that's all. Had it backwards. Where are we now, everybody? We're back here. Let's get back to the questions. Okay, cool. And wait. Yay, okay. Can the ozone be mixed with DMSO? The answer is no. Don't mix ozone with anything. Okay? Ozone is an extremely powerful oxidizing agent. And that's exactly the power that it has for healing, for helping us. It helps oxidize cells that are not, that we don't want, like chronically fermenting cells. We don't want them around, so the ozone will oxidize them. And the ozone produces other kinds of oxidizing agents, such as hydrogen peroxide, etc. Yeah. So anyway, but if you mix it with something, for example, like what was it with DMSO? DMSO is dimethyl sulfoxide. Is very, very important. It's a as you there you are. Okay. As you may know, DMSO was originally used with horses. They would rub it. They would. Oh, hi, Bev. Okay. No, nothing's off topic. The topic is life. Okay. And death. So everything's our topic. So DMSO was developed with horses. They would use it for after a horse runs a race, right? They can rub it on its hip, right? And it's a very, very powerful anti-inflammatory. And we use it intravenously with especially brain tumors, because the one fantastic thing about DMSO is that it penetrates everything. So if you place it on your skin with something else, it'll help carry that something else into the body, into the skin, and be absorbed. So it's a very good carrier in that regard. However, it can be modified easily and it can be oxidized easily, and you don't want to do that. So if you mix the DMSO with it, you're going to oxidize it. So give it before or after, and do that with anything. But 1 second, please. Okay. Okay. So I gotta turn this off. Okay. So anyway, do that with anything. Don't give ozone with anything. Give the ozone, and then do whatever, vitamin C, DMSO, whatever you're going to do. Do the ozone first, because ozone does its thing as quickly as you can imagine. Nanoseconds, a second. It's done what it's done. You put it. You take out the blood. You put the ozone in. You do this. It turns bright red. It's done. It's done its thing. There's no more ozone. Now, when you infuse it, you're infusing the reaction, the results. Okay, and the results are great. Okay, so okay. What's our next question? Let's try to answer a lot of questions today. Do Do you know of any studies on high-grade serous ovarian cancer and melatonin's effect? That's Tia. Okay, Tia. Yeah. Actually, okay. If y'all understand what melatonin is, you'll understand that it'll work. It'll work. It's very, very helpful with all chronically fermenting conditions. Doesn't matter where it is. Okay, it doesn't matter where it is. So and many studies have shown significant improvement results with breast cancer, gastrointestinal cancers, uh, lymphomas, lung cancer, ovarian, uterine, cervical, all of them. Because what do we all know? What do we all know? We all know something very important, right? And that is that the only difference between ovarian cancer and prostate cancer and lung cancer and brain cancer and lymph cancer is the first word. The second word is cancer. The first word is location. So the location is the place in which the cells began to change and become chronically fermenting cells. That's the location. Okay. And that's what determines a lot of the activity, right? Because if it's depending on the location and the organ, that organ has particular functions and particular drainage patterns and lymphatic pattern, both vascular and lymphatic drainage patterns, and the cells, the like liver cells do different things than kidney cells and things like that. So based on those characteristics, the chronically fermenting cell in that environment will act somewhat differently. However, the basic biology is the same, which is why they call it cancer. And it's why when the pathologist gets the biopsy and he looks under the she or he okay, I'm not going to go there because there's just a he or a she. Okay, whatever. An augmented he, an augmented she, whatever, goes there and looks at it. They're going to see certain things. There's certain hallmarks. Basically, the study of cellular structure is called histology. Okay, like anatomy. When we talk about anatomy, your heart, your lungs, your bones. We're talking about gross anatomy. Gross meaning large. Microscopic anatomy. You need a microscope. And we're looking at tissues and tissue structure. That's called histology. So the liver has a specific histology. Kidneys have histology. And as a medical student, you've got to be able to know them all, right? You got to be able to look under the microscope and say, yeah, that's kidney, that's liver, that's brain, that's ovary, that's testicle. We have to know that, yeah. So anyway, so they start to change. They start to change in a certain specific way. And the way in which they change is they develop, this becomes larger and that becomes smaller and the ratios and blah, 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 blah. So now we say, now this is a chronically fermenting cell, or Rockefeller would call it a cancer. And so that's it. Now, well, it's genetic. That's not genetic. I mean, because there's no one or three or five genetic aberrations that are specific for and define cancer, define chronically fermenting cell. None. How about zero? That's a zero with a capital Z and a capital O. It's called zero. Zero, meaning no genetic abnormality that defines what we call cancer. Can I be more explicit? No. However, there is a metabolic component of chronically fermenting cells known by Rockefeller and his family and his team and his ancestors like Bill Gates, who call it cancer. And that is called the Warburg effect, aerobic glycolysis. Aerobic glycolysis is the hallmark of chronically fermenting cells. Okay, that's not a genetic, that's a metabolic. Ergo, Dr. Thomas Seyfried of Boston University wrote a book called Cancer is a Metabolic. Unfortunately, he used the word disease, but everyone knows it. Everyone, yeah. So anyway, and that's what he talked about. And he talked about how all the things that happen because of this metabolic problem are retrograde going backwards. They go backwards and they modify the genetic expression so that now the cell can exist successfully as having a new metabolic requirement of fermentation, which it didn't have before. Okay, before it wasn't fermenting, before it was going through what's called oxidative phosphorylation, and that's very efficient and it made lots of energy. Now it's got to adapt. That adaptation is called a chronically fermenting cell that becomes successful. Okay, so it's a metabolic situation. So that's what I wanted to that's what I wanted to let you know. So anyway, so now let me just I found the study because you wanted to know if there was any studies. Yes, here the name of the study. It was published in the Journal of Ovarian Research 2019. Melatonin is a potential inhibitor of ovarian cancer molecular aspects. Now, I love this, you guys. You'll love it. You'll love this. You'll love this. The possible risk factors. Oh my God. Oh, what are those risk factors? Include hereditary ovarian cancer. What is that? What? Oh, your mother had it. That's a risk factor? Prove it, dude. Prove it. Obesity. Diabetes. Alcohol consumption. Aging. And smoking. What? I could have put that for anything. Do you realize what a BS answer that is? Do you know? Do you guys know that they don't know what they're doing? I know that, and I know you know it because every day when I do consultations with you guys and you tell me your horror stories, and I mean horror stories. They did this, and then they did this, and then they did this, and then now there's nothing else they can do. Can you help me? And that happens 99% of the time. Yeah, 1% of the time people get better, regardless of what they do. I'm not a freak. I'm telling you the truth. Do I get angry? Yeah. Yeah, I get pissed off. Why? Because I see people suffer and I don't like that. You're all beautiful, wonderful people, and you all deserve everything that you want in life. And life's hard enough. Life's hard enough without having all this stuff. So yeah, I get angry. I'm more than angry. And I got to be so careful that I don't lose my platforms, you know. So anyway, so the possible risk factors for ovarian cancer are obesity, smoking, drinking, both. Okay, yeah. What about French fries? Huh? You didn't put French fries in there. What about fried pork rinds? Huh? What about fried pork rinds? I don't see fried pork rinds. Oh, does that fall under obesity? I see. Alcohol consumption. Oh, you mean one glass of wine a day is going to lead to ovarian cancer? No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Aging leads to ovarian cancer. I don't agree with that because listen, I'm just saying, but I'll bet you, no matter how old I get, I'm not going to get ovarian cancer. What do you think? You guys think so? Anyway, oh, also various molecular signaling pathways. Various molecular signaling pathways means nothing, including inflammation, oxidative stress, apoptosis, angiogenesis. They're involved. Oh, these guys are so smart. Oh my God, I'm so impressed. Inflammation, oxidative stress, apoptosis, angiogenesis. Oh my gosh, they are so smart. I'm going to do anything they say. I'm going to follow them. They're just, oh my gosh. Oh. Standard treatments for recently diagnosed patients are what? You never guess. What are the standard treatments, you guys? You'll never guess. Now, are you ready for this? You're sitting down, right? You're sitting down. Here they come. Are you ready? Surgery, chemotherapy. Oh my God. Can you imagine? I'm so glad they told us. Oh, I feel so safe now. Now, melatonin and endogenous, meaning is secreted from the pineal gland, and it has, what does it have? It has anti-carcinogenic features such as regulation of estradiol production, estrogen, cell cycle modulation, stimulation of apoptosis, as well as anti-angiogenic properties, anti-inflammatory activities, and significant antioxidant effects, and modulation of various immune stem cells and cytokines. Multiple studies have shown the significant beneficial roles of melatonin on various things. So yes, so please, to answer your question, absolutely, and this study in particular, and of course, breast, lung, pancreatic, all it doesn't matter. Remember, the cancer is cancer is cancer is cancer. So a recent study reported that melatonin treatment for 60 days, just 60 days. They didn't do anything else. Didn't do anything else. Decreased ovarian cancer mass without any peritoneal adhesions and tumor incidence, including high grade serous papillary, like your question, and sarcomas and undifferentiated carcinoma. One of the things that it does is it increases E-cadherin in ovarian cancer. It does that in all the cells. E-cadherin is very important, that keeps cells stuck together, right? If they're stuck together, then nothing can go in, another cell can't go in between and start spreading because they're stuck together. They form a wall, okay? So it increases that. It also downregulates estrogen receptor alpha. Okay, the bad one, the one that does things we don't like. Imagine you're doing this and okay, so yeah, but estrogen only has to do with breast cancer. No. Well, and female reproductive, like ovarian and uterus, cervix. No, 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 no. Male prostate and pancreas and lung and colon. Yeah, all of them, all of them, all of them, all of. You hear that, right? Everyone hears that, okay? All right. So we're talking about melatonin. This is why I take 100 milligrams a night, 120 mil a night. Not for the sleep benefits, even though it helps me with sleep, but that's why. The stuff is amazing and made by God. So what are you talking about? Okay. Okay, now let's do a little bit of TikTok. Can I, this is by at myself. Can I work a construction job meanwhile on this treatment? Yes, you can. Yeah. You know, we're, it depends on what, itchy. Sorry. Uh, depending on what's going on in your body, if it's all over the place and there's lots of problems, then you really have to say, look, it's time to stop working, whether it's construction or secretarial or anything, teacher, musician, whatever. You stop everything and let's devote our time to restoring the health. Okay? So I don't really know your condition, but there's a period of time where we've got to do 100% of different kinds of IVs and things like that, diet changing, cleansing, everything, until we've turned things around. Then we can go back to doing 80-20, 90-10, something like that. Okay, but there's a time. Now, I don't know your situation. That's what I'm saying. Another one. Do you have patients that will testify to you treating them and their journey and final results? Yeah, sure. A lot of them are very, very happy to do that. A lot of them are private and don't want others to really know about their situation. So we all respect that. Some people are happy to do it. But you know what? At Blind Diva, I'm happy to share that with you, and I'll share or with anybody, because I understand how important it is. But I just want to remind you all something, that more than likely, I don't know for sure, but more than likely, you did not ask the same question of the white coat sitting behind the desk. You may have, that's cool, but a lot of people don't. For some reason, you go in there and you're in that position, you're in that office, and you don't ask those questions. But for me, yeah, sure, people are really, really happy to share what's going on. Yeah. Can you talk about anemia, please? Nothing seems to bring my numbers up. Tried cooking in cast iron. No. Iron supplements, etc. Okay. So, first of all, anemia means low blood hemoglobin, which carries oxygen, which is going to cause lots of problems, including low energy. But also, if you have any kind of chronically fermenting cell, it's going to make them grow quicker. So, but one becomes anemic. There's only a very few reasons why. Either, number one, you're not producing enough red blood cells. Number two, you're losing too many red blood cells. That's it. So, not producing means your bone marrow has either been damaged by chemicals, including chemotherapy and radiation, and it takes a while to recover. You can enhance that recovery with infrared saunas and other kinds of, lots of exercise that helps, sweating, getting things out, getting good sleep, eating proper nutrition. All that stuff's good. Number two, your bone marrow might not have adequate nutrients, which is really eating a healthy food. But uh, the conventional world usually narrows it down to B12, folate, and iron. But now, in terms of iron, remember something. There's a difference in eating iron from blood. Like if you're eating an animal's body and you get the blood of that animal, it's called heme iron or hemoglobin iron, versus getting the iron that's in broccoli and spinach and bok choy, other vegetables, Brussels sprouts. Now, the iron that's in plants, which, by the way, is how the cow got it. So when you're eating a rare steak, the cow originally got the iron from the plant. Because remember, if you're eating a steak, I'm sure you prefer the steak to be grass-fed. Anyway, um, in order to convert the iron in its ferric form to its ferrous form for being able to digest it, absorb it, you need to have a lot of hydrochloric acid in your stomach. And when we get past the age of 40, we produce less and less and less hydrochloric acid. So you need to take hydrochloric acid before you eat, like 10 minutes, 15 minutes before you eat, okay, to make sure you have enough hydrochloric acid. Secondly, ascorbate, vitamin C, actually upregulates the receptors in the duodenum, which is the first part of the small intestines, just after the stomach. That, let's put this here, that increase the absorption of iron. So both vitamin C and hydrochloric acid are going to increase your ability to absorb the iron. And so whether or not you're taking iron in any way, and you don't need to take supplements, you just need the organic greens that were grown in the proper soil. Okay, what about hormonally driven cancers? What adjustments should be made? Okay, hormonally driven cancers are more than we would think. We usually think, like I said, of breast and ovarian and cervix, but it's also prostate and colon and pancreas and lung can be driven by estrogens. So estrogens are very powerful in that regard. But as we've talked about in the past, there are two kinds of estrogen receptors, alpha and beta. And it's the beta that are the ones that you want to stimulate because they shrink the tumors, whereas alpha grow them. So that's where you get that's exactly the kind of phytoestrogens you get from soy and flax. So, excuse me, 6 tablespoons of chia seed porridge every morning. Not every morning, every breakfast. Should be around 11 or 12. Put it in like Brazil nut milk or fresh almond milk or even walnut milk or pumpkin seed milk. You make it yourself. Let it soak a couple hours and then eat it. Also, take about 2 tablespoons, 3 tablespoons of flax and put it in a coffee grinder and grind it up. Put it with some fresh nut milk and maybe some spinach or whatever and some berries and make yourself a flaxseed smoothie. You'll get lots and lots and lots of protein and fats and things like that. But the flax is very, very good. You can eat edamame, you can eat tofu, you can eat miso soup, and you can eat natto. Natto is actually quite delicious if you get into it. And you want to eat lots of that, okay? Whoever you are, okay? Whether you've been given someone's cast a spell on you or not, it doesn't matter. Okay? So, it's good stuff. That's the only thing I would say with the hormonally driven cancer. And I would say don't worry about all the other nonsense. The other thing I would say about hormonally driven cancers is it's not that estrogen's bad, progesterone's good, testosterone's bad, and whatever is good. I don't know what they think. But none of them are bad or good. They're necessary. And what is necessary is that they're in a beautiful harmonic balance. And somehow, because of the environment we live in, they've become out of balance. And a lot of that is due to the hormone disruptors that are in our environment, such as bisphenol A, BPA, which we find in receipts. Don't take receipts. You don't need receipts. Believe me, you don't need receipts from your credit card. Just tell them to throw it away if they get a lot. What are you going to do with the receipt when you get home? You just bought something at 7-Eleven for $7.23. What are you going to go home and look at the receipt again? What do you do? Or you're going to take it for the clerk and throw it away? Let the clerk throw it away. They're okay with that. They don't mind that. Believe me. You don't need those receipts. And you've got to be careful about BPA and everything. It also turns out, sadly, to be in a lot of the white, the white stuff that they're using now for fillings. Unfortunately, they're sticking BPA in it. So make sure you have a good holistic dentist that tests that and make sure that the different composites that they're using for putting fillings in your teeth do not have BPA in them, because they do. And then you can also be tested. There's blood tests that the holistic biological dentist can do that will test your compatibility with different dental materials. Very important. But BPA is a big deal. It's just one of the environmental, what they call xenoestrogens, which binds to estrogen receptor alpha and causes problems. So you want to avoid that for sure. Okay, so now this is, I don't understand this question. Also in animals, completely natural. Otherwise, where do they exist? I think, maybe you're talking about parasites. Yeah, parasites exist. Unfortunately, a lot of the worms, the nematodes that they're called, have their life cycle in the soil. So even somebody who doesn't eat animals, who just eats plants, like a vegan, can still be exposed to them. So they're in all of us. We've got to just accept that, and just start taking up. Now, the reason we can't take herbs, you can, but it's not going to work as well. The reason it's not going to work very well, and you're going to still have the problem, is because the reason they're called parasites is because they successfully avoid being detected and killed. They're very good at that. So therefore, they're not hanging out in your gastrointestinal tract ready to come out with the next time you have a bowel movement. They're not. Only once in a while by accident. Even the big tapeworm is going to keep most of its body hidden and just have its mouth sticking into the GI tract so it can kind of eat some of the food that you're trying to eat. So you have to, what time am I getting too late? Yeah. Anyway, so where do they live? They burrow into the walls of your bladder, the walls of your intestines, the walls of your liver, spleen, lungs, brain. Just that's where they hang out. They burrow in, they have their eggs, their larvae, and things like that. And so just taking some herbs doesn't quite penetrate. So you've got to take some large doses of multiple different heavy duty drugs. Now, why do you have to do that? Why? Because if you undertreat, in other words, you give not quite enough to kill them, you kind of disturb them. They migrate from one organ to another. And you definitely don't want them to migrate into your pancreas and set up camp there or something else to do. Because one of the other questions I saw before too is, how do they directly affect developing this chronically fermenting condition? And the thing is, they produce an environment that is hospitable to them, and that same environment is hospitable to chronically fermenting cells. So so it's sort of a symbiotic relationship. So you want to get rid of them so they don't produce it. The same with funguses. Funguses do the same kind of thing. And all of these microorganisms, remember they're micro, they are continually getting in and out of us. So you got to, once you do a thorough, maybe 3 weeks on, 1 week off, 3 weeks on, 1 week off, 3 weeks on, 1 week off. You do that 5 or 6 times to get rid of the parasites out of your body. It might not even be enough. You might have to do it 9 times. You don't know. And then you should do it at least once a year for a month, because you got to keep them out. They're ready to move in. Just the way it is. Fasting, you'd have to fast all the time. It's very difficult to do with, but fasting does. Yeah, you're starving it and everything. Yeah. So yeah, they would eventually die with it, but it's just, you'd have to do a lot of fasting all the time to keep them out. Because remember, they like your healthy. They don't just want your sick tissues. That's not what they're after. They're after your healthy tissues. That's where they like to live. Now, let me see. Is there one more? Sorry, I didn't get to many questions today. Well, here's a lot of the questions I'm looking up here. Prep for colonoscopy. Okay, easily. Stop eating maybe 2 or 3 days before if you can. Or do a heavy-duty juice cleanse. Just drink 3-4 quarts of juice a day, fresh green juice. Don't eat anything, and go and get a colon hydrotherapy. Clean out that colon really nicely. You don't have to take the ridiculous drugs that they have you do. Yeah, that's a good question. I'm glad you brought that up. Now, do you think it's important to do a liver, gallbladder cleanse, flush? I don't personally think so. I mean, not everybody agrees with me. That's okay. But I don't necessarily think so. I have to, I believe me that when I say that the body is one system, it's one system. You can't like detoxify one part of I'm going to only detoxify this muscle over here, not for the rest of my body, just this. You can't do it. I'm going to do sit-ups and do crunches so I can develop and get a six-pack. Well, you're going to get strong muscles, but if you're eating a lot, you're still going to have a layer of fat around it. By doing the sit-ups, you're not going to decrease necessarily the fat in that area. It's going to burn up the fat from the entire body all at once, not in one area. So the body functions as a whole. The body does not function in certain organ systems. We have designed by our names and our nomenclature called this organ system, the cardiovascular system, the gastrointestinal system, the renal system, but they all exist because of each other, and they work together. So you can't divide them up and do things like that. It just doesn't work like that. So anyway, guess what? It's like 9 a.m. here in Thailand. So I got to run because I got to do a consult, but it was fantastic being with you. I'm so sorry about the beginning. I don't know what to do about technology except live with it. I got to find somebody who's friends with it and can help me work with the beast, because it is the beast. But anyway, it's a good beast for us in these things. I'm really glad you came. Thank you so much, Swadika, and namaste, aloha. Have a beautiful week. Stay healthy. Go to bed early. More than anything, go to bed early. Just go to bed early and go to bed early. And then when you go to bed early and get some sleep, you're going to find out that everything else you know you should do, you'll do. And if you don't go to bed early, you just won't do all the things you know you need to do. It really comes down to being that simple. So, anyway, uh, how do I say goodbye? I just say goodbye.